Hello everyone, it's Jan. So this is a new segment in my channel called Pick My Brain or PMB. So this segment works like a Q&A. So earlier last week, I think I asked you to send in some questions, and in this segment I will answer all of those questions. Hopefully this will become a weekly thing. If you have some questions for me, you may comment them on this video down below, and I will try to answer them in the next PMB segment. Please do not forget to also give this video a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to get notified each time I upload a new video, please don't forget to hit the notification bell icon near the subscribe button. Also, please subscribe to my Facebook page, Twitter account, and my Instagram account. Okay, so let's start. Our first question was sent by Banana God, and it's about martial law. So here's the question. What are your thoughts on martial law? On why is it declared during the time of Marcos, and also on the left-leaning groups and the Reds / NPA? Medyo malawak yung question, but my thoughts on martial law. Well, I've said this in a lot of post on my Facebook page. Sa akin kasi mahalaga na maintindihan natin. I mean, pagdating kasi sa international politics, isa sa mga mahalagang guidelines na binibigay sa mga policy analysts is that you should treat all political actors as rational. Hindi productive sa policy analysis yung kaagad meron ka ng judgment dun sa leader or political actor na tinatry mong i-analyze. Ako, on my part, when trying to understand yung policy ng isang political actor in domestic or international politics, I first try to understand the context. So, yun yung gagawin ko siguro to answer this question. Well, alam naman natin na dineclare yung martial law during the Cold War. In Cold War, yun yung height ng parang laban. Yun yung height ng war between democracy and communism. And I would understand why Marcos during that time felt the need to, or was compelled to impose martial law, lalo na nung sa bansa natin nung mga panahon na yon, parang yung communist insurgency lumalaki. Siguro na-observe din niya like yung mga neighbors natin such as countries like Vietnam, China, or the communist ideology took over those countries, and maybe he felt threatened during that time na baka mangyari yung pareho sa Pilipinas. So maybe that's the reason why he felt compelled to declare martial law during that time. Kung maaalala natin, yun din yung time na dineclare or na-form yung organizations like SIATO. Sa major reasons kung bakit na-form yung organization na yun is to contain communism. Another organization which was formed to contain communism was ASEAN. So isa sa primary reasons why ASEAN was formed was to also contain communism. So, makikita natin na noong panahon talaga na yon ni Marcos, malaking factor yung spread ng communism sa pag-declare niya ng ng ganong policy. So, ako, that's what I think, or that's for me is really the reason why Marcos declared martial law. It's really to fight communism in the country. So for the other question, my thoughts on the left-leaning groups and the Reds / NPA. Well, to be fair, communism and other leftist ideologies have a well-meaning agenda. As for my thoughts on the left-leaning groups in the country, I feel like the leftist movement in the country has completely lost its way. Feeling ko parang na-absorb na din sila nung personality politics sa Pilipinas. It's not about the ideology anymore, or it's not about ideas anymore. It's about people. Feeling ko may term silang ginagamit doon, parang nilamon na din sila ng sistema ng personality politics sa Pilipinas. Why? Ewan ko, kasi kung titignan mo yung government natin ngayon, it has pushed for programs, policies, reforms that would benefit the collective and which are actually, part of the many things that the leftist movement is fighting for. These policies include yung universal healthcare, free college tuition, among many other policies. I find it also saddening na these leftist groups which are supposed to be fighting imperialism, especially American imperialism in the country, are allowing themselves be used by the same country. Ayun, parang that's why to me the leftist movement in the Philippines has really lost its way, and I feel like there's a need for them. They need to soul search, like really soul search, and to come and maybe try to identify yung position nila ngayon sa Pilipinas. Kung nasaan ba sila, ano yung magiging papel nila sa nation building ng bansa. Hanggang dyan na lang ba sila sa re-revolusyon, pagpatay ng mga inosenteng tao, pagpatay ng mga pulis, sundalo, mga lumad. I mean, it's time for the leftist movement to really soul search. Anong role ang gusto nilang i-undertake in nation building sa Pilipinas? So yeah, yun yung thoughts ko. The next question is also related to the leftist movement. Ang sabi ng question, what would be the current situation in the Philippines if the communists were successful in taking over the country? This is a difficult question to answer. I could see forking paths when imagining what the country would be like if the communists have successfully taken over the country. Nakikita ko nandyan yung Vietnam scenario. Baka there's a good chance na baka naging like tayo or Vietnam na eventually under a communist government, and then eventually i-open up nila yung economy to capitalism. Or there's another scenario like yung Cuban scenario where the communists have taken over and yet they remain super close pa din sa world economy. So yeah, there could be several scenarios na pwedeng nangyari sa Pilipinas if the communists have successfully taken over the country. The North Korean scenario, although one of the possible scenarios, I think medyo mas less yung possibility na mangyari siya sa Pilipinas for cultural reasons. And cultural and political reasons. I also think na if the communists have successfully taken over the Philippines, there's a chance na, kailan siya nangyari? If it happened during the Cold War, baka nagkaroon ng Second Philippine-American War, baka yung Amerika in-invade ulit yung Pilipinas to liberate us from the communists. Ginawa niya yan sa Vietnam, di ba? Parang nagkaroon ng Vietnam War, natalo yung Amerika. So baka may chance na nagkaroon tayo ng ganon. Nagkaroon ng Second Philippine-American War and it's gonna be a battle between America and the communists. So there's also that possibility. Kung nangyari man yon, I'm imagining ano kaya yung magiging consequences. If we lost that war, pwedeng America would have taken over the country again. I don't know. Pwede naman, kung nanalo naman tayo, baka maging yung past natin, baka maging katulad ng Vietnam na for a few decades like authoritarian rule, lalo tas planned economy, and then biglang i-open up nila yung economy to like a more market economic system. So yeah, there are a lot of scenarios, but yeah, it's ngayon medyo ang hirap ng imaginin kung ano bang itsura ng Pilipinas kung naging communist tayo. So yeah, there's also a possibility na since the country is very like fragmented in terms, not just in terms of geography but also in terms of society and culture, baka kung nanalo yung or if we were taken over by the communists, there's also a chance na baka magkaroon ng insurgencies in many parts of the countries na nagre-resist sa communist rule. Nandiyan din yung Muslim insurgency sa Mindanao, and baka magkaroon din mga regional insurgencies who will fight communist rule in the country. So yeah, ang daming scenarios na nai-imagine ko na naglalaro sa isip ko na pwedeng maging itsura ng Pilipinas if ever man nanalo yung, or if ever man the communists have successfully taken over the country. So yeah, that's my answer. Okay, so next question is, what I want to know, it's from Nobelo Savageo. Ang sabi ni Nobelo, want to know your thoughts on historical revisionism and how and why do you think people are now more and more leaning towards believing YouTube videos and Facebook posts that don't offer any resources, links, references? Is this a new social decay? Well, first of all, I do not want to call it historical revisionism. Lalo na, I don't like the use of the term revisionism. To me, history is kind of like a puzzle. Para siyang puzzle. And hindi siya painting. Like, isang monolithic painting lang, and that's the truth. Yan na yung absolute truth. I don't see history that way. Sabi nga nila, diba, history is usually written by winners, and the winners of course would always portray themselves as positively, and they would always portray their enemies negatively. So yeah, I refuse to see history that way. To me, history is more like a puzzle. Okay, so there's one person who has one piece of the puzzle, so nandyan nilagay niya dyan. But I still think na to capture the entirety of truth, it is important for us, like citizens of the world, citizens of countries, of nations, to do our own studies, do our own researches, or write our own stories, write our own experiences of events in the past or even present events. And then nasa historian na yun kung paano nila like tahi-tahiin yung kwento. And then, it's important for us to contribute to the puzzle hanggang sa mabuo natin yung hinahanap nating katotohanan. And I don't think na when you give your own perspective of an event, of a certain piece of history, I don't think you're revising history. I just think na you're just sharing how you experience it, or how you experience that event. So, and that contribution leads us closer to the truth. So I don't think there's something wrong with that. Sa research nga, merong tinatawag na approach to research or method, or research method na phenomenology. Sa phenomenology, the researcher kind of like tries to get tries to describe the experience of certain individual or an individual regarding a certain event in history. Those are my thoughts. So those are my thoughts on historical revisionism. Also, hindi natin may iwasan na magkaroon ng interplay, yung past, present, future. Sabi nga nila, 'di ba, parang yung time, it's not linear. It's not non-linear yung time. There will always be interaction between between past, present, and the future. They will always interact, and it's always about finding the truth. It's always about crafting our way forward. So magkakaroon lagi yan ng interaction, yung past, present, and future. And yeah, gaya ng sabi ko, history is a puzzle. It's not a monolithic painting showing us absolute truths na katulad ng mga pinaint ng like winners. Yung perspective ng iba't ibang tao na nakaranas nung certain event, mag-emerge yan and they will, find their place in the puzzle. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Bakit ba masama ang tingin natin doon? Why do we assume na merong like isang malaking katotohanan kaagad at hindi siya dapat i-challenge? I mean, tao lang din naman yung nag-describe nung katotohanan na yun. Hindi naman sila Diyos, so hindi naman perfect yung truth na pinupush nila. So yeah, we should be open to other views, other perspectives. They're not necessarily bad. They just help us get closer to the truth. That's my perspective on historical revisionism. As for the other question, why do you think people are now more and more leaning towards believing YouTube videos? Is it social decay? I don't think so. Siguro nakikita ng mga tao na hindi enough yung information na binibigay sa kanila. Hindi enough, and so they are looking for other resources, or they're looking for other views on events, on issues, para mas maging holistic yung pananaw nila dun sa issue na yon. So that's one thing. Maybe there's this desire for alternate views or more views, more information, dahil feeling nila kulang yung ibinibigay sa kanila. Also I think that many people these days are looking for alternative narratives kasi they're unsatisfied with the situation that the present narrative has brought them to. Like for example siguro yung martial law. Madami ngayong kina-question feeling ko madaming tao yung kume-question ng sitwasyon ng bansa nung panahon ni Marcos kasi they are unsatisfied with how the system has brought us post Marcos. Madaming hindi siguro nag-benefit. Maraming mga tao na hindi nagbe-benefit sa progress supposedly na democratic progress supposedly na na-achieve natin post Marcos. And so these people want to emancipate themselves by seeking for other alternative systems on how alternative systems on how to seeking alternative systems moving forward kasi to them to them the current system isn't good, isn't working, isn't benefiting them. So that's how they try to emancipate themselves, by looking for alternatives. And saan ba tayo usually, human beings, saan ba tayo usually humahanap ng mga alternatibong system kundi sa nakaraan, di ba? They're trying to investigate the past and see and look for lessons, or look for alternative systems that we could apply in our present moving forward, because they're not benefiting from the current system. So that's what I think about. I don't think it's social decay. I just think they're just really unsatisfied with the information that's being given to them. which is good. To me, uncertainty is always good because uncertainty is how you innovate. Uncertainty is how you change history, and uncertainties is a driving force that changes history, that moves society forward. Kasi kung parang lahat ng paniniwala natin sure na tayo, hindi na natin questionin, then yung pupuntahan natin isang direction na lang. I mean, wala tayong trap na tayo dun sa direction na yon. Wala na tayong makitang ibang alternatives. And I think living in a democracy means having choices, having alternatives. So yeah, it's good that people are questioning actually. Good that people are starting to question many parts of our history. It's good that people are questioning many narratives that have been taught to us in back in our earlier days. Yeah, and I hope this uncertainties, these desire for answers will result in like better systems for the country, better way of doing things in the country, better revolutionary government. So the next question is about revolutionary government. Hi Jan, what are your opinions and thoughts on a revolutionary government for the Philippines? Thanks, I love your content and you've earned my support. I'm happy that you love my content and thank you for the support. Well, personally, I prefer legal modes of bringing about change, or legal methods of bringing about change. So maybe we could focus first on legal methods, but I'm not closing my door to such a movement. I mean, nobody has changed the world by following the rules. Sometimes we need to come up with drastic measures to bring about change. So yeah, but for now, I think that we should exhaust all legal methods of bringing about change in the country, and then we'll see in the future. I'm not closing my door to it. Okay, so yung next question, medyo philosophical. It's from James Hernan Magistrado. Hi, I am interested in how you form your socio-political worldviews by citing French philosopher Michel Foucault. What were his ideas that interested or inspired your views? What would be your takeaway when viewing the country's socio-political realities from a Foucauldian angle? Medyo mahirap yung question. So, but I'm just gonna give my on top of my mind answers lang. So hindi very deep, well researched. Kasi parang nagkakwentuhan lang tayo dito. Okay, so ano yung mga first, before I answer this question, introduce ko lang kung sino ba si Michel Foucault sa mga nakikinig. So si Michel Foucault, he is a French philosopher. Madami sa mga ideas niya yung very controversial kasi he really changed how we see power in society. His ideas are very comprehensive, and I'll try to discuss some of his ideas in my future videos because they're really difficult ideas. They're difficult, complicated ideas, and trust me, hindi enough yung oras na nilaan ko sa video na to para sagutin yung para i-discuss yung ideas niya, and I need to prepare for that kasi I don't want to mislead anyone. I want to be able to clearly discuss yung ideas niya. Kaya I'm setting that aside for a separate video. But in this segment, I'll just answer this question ni James on which ideas of Michel Foucault that interested and inspired my views. Siguro yung pinakamahalagang idea ni Michel Foucault na naka-influence sa akin ay yung perspective niya of power. Kasi 'di ba tayo traditionally, when we imagine power, when we think of power, we imagine the government, we imagine the police, military, countries, invading other countries, repressive power. And usually, yeah, so yun yung traditional view natin ng power. Pero yung idea ni Foucault ng power, it's different, medyo iba. Para sa kanya, yung kapangyarihan, yung political power, hindi lang siya parang centralized sa government, hindi lang yung government yung may power. For Foucault, power is dispersed among all members of society, even you, even ako, may certain amount of power. Nag-iiba lang yan base sa, degree. There's just a certain degree or level of power na that we wield as members of society. And for him, hindi lang yung government yung institution na may kapangyarihan din yung ibang institutions, like, let's say for example, businesses, the private sector, corporations. For Foucault, these institutions have certain amount of power in society, to influence society. Nandyan din yung educational institutions such as like yung school, universities, colleges. They also wield power according to Foucault. Nandyan din yung iba't ibang ano pa bang institutions meron tayo, like yung Catholic Church. For Foucault, the church also wields significant amount of power, and the kind of power that they wield medyo different siya dun sa repressive power na na-discuss ko earlier. For Foucault, yung power ng mga institutions na to, it's called normalizing power. So ano bang kaibahan ng repressive power and normalizing power? Yung repressive power kasi, it, like, to simply put, it uses force or uses certain amount, uses force, violence, coercion to mold yung behavior ng citizens. Like for example, yung police, pag nandyan sila, syempre pag may presence ng police, mas natatakot tayo na gumawa ng masama. So ganun yung epekto ng repressive force sa behavior ng tao. Pero for Foucault, yung normalizing power, mas subtle, mas mas tago yung kung paano niya exert yung influence niya sa behavior ng mga tao. Let's say for example, very particular si Foucault actually sa connection ng power and knowledge. Para kay Foucault, power produces knowledge, and at the same time, knowledge produces power. So, mutually constitutive sila. And saan ba nabubuo yung power? I mean, yung knowledge. Sino ba yung nagka-come up niyan usually? Usually, nandyan yung mga educational institutions, mga research institutions, na sa kanila nanggagaling yung knowledge. And yung mga studies, researches na nagagawa nila, those studies, those researches, especially in societies na secular democratic, where science really play a huge role, they have very significant influence on society kasi sila basically yung nagdi-dictate ng policies. Dahil nga yung policies, base yan sa studies, base yan sa researches. So yung pagbebasehan ng policies, depende din sa studies and researches na nagagawa dyan sa educational institution. So yun, may ganong ecology yung societal influence, yung power, normalizing power. So dahil base sa study nitong educational institution na to, dapat ganito yung policy na gawin. Let's say for example, in terms of education, like ganito dapat yung policy sa education dahil ito yung resulta ng studies ng educational institution na to. Ngayon, yung study na yan gagawing basehan to craft our laws, for the government to craft policies, and then yun yung i-implement. At yung policies na yun, they dictate our behavior, and kaya tinatawag na normalizing power kasi they normalize the behavior. At sa pananaw natin, yung studies na yun, they are the truth. They are, hindi yan pwedeng questionin dahil nga yan base sa science, blah blah blah, objective yan, ganyan, galing yan sa reputable institutions, educational institutions. So, ganun ka-indirect yung influence ng, isang example lang to ng educational institutions, how they wield power. So, ganun ka-indirect yung influence ng educational institutions na yan. Kaya, for me, normalizing power is more insidious, and could potentially be more dangerous. Kasi nga, hindi tayo aware or hindi tayo directly exposed dun sa power or how that power wields itself. May certain levels bago umabot sa atin. Kaya ako very particular ako na kina-question lagi. Like, kapag may studies na nire-release, kina-question ko yung methodology. Very critical ako pagdating sa how the results came about, paano inanalyze. Kasi lagi ko tong sasabihin, educational institution man yan, researcher man yan, professor man yan, teacher or expert man yan, lagi yang may certain lens na ginagamit para i-analyze yung mga bagay-bagay. Walang tao, unless Diyos ka, walang tao na may nahawak yung objective truth. So, kaya para sa akin mahalaga na for researchers to disclose yung biases nila para at least aware yung nagbabasa ng studies nila, kung paano ba nila fine-frame yung ideas nila or ina-analyze yung ideas nila. It's also the reason why I'm critical of numbers na lumalabas sa institutions. Hindi lang ako basta, okay, ito daw yung numbers, and then ito yung conclusion. Hindi ako ganun. I really question then yung process, paano nakarating sa numbers na yon. Mahalaga yung methodology, mahalaga yung ginagamit na theories, kung paano nila fina-frame yung mga studies nila. Kasi, sobrang laki ng impact niyan sa policy making. Makikita natin yan, for example, sa pandemic na meron tayo ngayon, na ang daming numbers na lumalabas. Pero, hindi ko nakikita ng may mga tao na question doon sa numbers. Paano ba tayo nakarating sa numbers na yan? Very logical ba yung steps na tinake para makarating sa numbers na yan? Rational ba? Gumamit ba tayo ng consistent ba yan sa logic, sa reason? Kasi kung hindi natin titignan yung quality ng methodology ng mga studies na yan in terms of logic and reason, at gagamitin yung studies na yan to come up with policies na sasaklaw sa buong society, sobrang devastating na magiging effects. Kaya lagi kong advocacy ko na sa group, sa page ko na urge citizens to question studies, question numbers, and not just simply acquiesce to these numbers, to these researches. So yun, very important sa akin yung view ni Foucault ng power. And there's this very nice video na napanood ko in the past. I will link it in the description, and it discusses yung idea ni Foucault on power. Okay, so next question from Miguel Viola. Hi, just curious about your thoughts regarding the EU threats on trade sanctions against our country if their demands are not met. Propaganda is being proliferated by the other parlor regarding this. Same question from Lionel Farinas. Pwede nyo po bang i-explain yung tungkol sa issue ng EU? May magagawa po bang harm sa bansa natin ito? Bakit po ba sila nakikialam sa bansa natin? Salamat po kung mapagbibigyan. May nabasa akong article ni Sir Rigoberto Tiglao. I'll link it in the description. The title is Fake News, EU Threatens Trade Sanctions. Dun sa article niya, sinasabi niya na this isn't true. The EU, yung news or the news being proliferated by the opposition is basically fake news because he mentioned that the EU did not threaten trade sanction. In fact, the resolution by the EU Parliament is a rehash of its April 2008 resolution, which simply repeated the Yellows and especially Rappler's claim of 12,000 people killed in the drug war. Ang sabi din niya, yung kaibahan lang dito sa bagong resolution, in-include doon yung demands nila to reopen ABS-CBN and to drop charges against Maria Ressa. Also, he said that the resolution didn't even say that the European Parliament threatens to impose the sanctions, but asked the EU Commission or European Commission to initiate procedure which could lead to the temporary withdrawal of GSP preferences in the absence of substantial improvement in regard to human rights violations. The European Commission has never undertaken such withdrawal of GSP preferences, and there isn't even a clear procedure to do so and would require the agreement of all 27 members of the European Union. So, ang sinasabi dito ni Sir Bobby Tiglao, never pang nangyari na yung European Commission nag-withdraw ng GSP preferences. Yung GSP preferences, ito yata yung nire-reduce nila yung tariff na pinapataw nila sa mga products na galing sa less developed countries. So, ang ibig sabihin kapag part yung bansa mo dun sa list ng countries na yon, mas mura yung exports mo sa EU countries, syempre mas tatangkilikin ng mga namimili kapag mas mura yung produkto mo, di ba? So, yun yung sinasabi nilang trade sanctions. Ang sabi ni Sir Bobby Tiglao sa article niya, never pa yung nangyari. The European Commission has never undertaken such withdrawal of GSP preferences at wala ring clear procedure kung paano siya gagawin. At kung gawin man siya ng EU, it would require for all 27 members of the European Union to agree na i-withdraw yung preference na yun sa Pilipinas. So, for now, it doesn't really bother me. And I also agree dun sa sentiments ng marami na medyo disappointed sila kung bakit ba nakikialam yung EU sa like domestic politics ng mga bansa, ng mga bansa. I mean, to me, it's like an extension of their, like, of imperialism. Yun yung tinatawag ng neo-colonialism. To me, parang hanggang ngayon, yung Western society, meron pa rin silang, like, in their minds, they're still imperial masters na kailangan sundin ng mga least developed countries. And I think it's time for developing countries like the Philippines to stand up to these powers, to send a message to them na iba na yung panahon. You're not in charge anymore. That we are responsible for our domestic policies. Kung ano man yung maging resulta ng domestic policies natin, we are responsible for that. Wala silang pakialam kung anong gagawin natin sa bansa natin. Sana, I also hope that these countries, especially the European Union and United States, they open their eyes and see na yung ganitong interventionism, it doesn't help uplift these countries. In fact, maraming nagsasabi na yung interventionism na to mas nakasasama pa sa mga bansa na kung saan nila ginagawa. So, yeah, I'm vehemently against humanitarian interventionism, Western interventionism, because I believe the Philippines is mature enough to handle its own politics. We're not a colony anymore of any country. So, kung ano man yung gusto natin gawin natin sa domestic policies natin, foreign policies natin, we should be allowed to do it. Unless, syempre, merong mga certain policies that are international in nature. Pagdating doon, yeah, fine. EU can, like, comment on them, can, like, propose alternatives. But when it comes to domestic policies, lalo na yung concept of human rights na yan. Yung human rights na yan, they are based on Western standards, and therefore, they must not be imposed on societies na hindi sila like compatible. I mean, we've seen countries like China, Singapore, Malaysia. These countries, hindi liberal yung views nila ng human rights, but they were able to progress. They were able to grow their countries. They were able to develop their economies without subscribing to those Western liberal standards of human rights. And I think it's the same for the Philippines. I think minsan we must strike a balance between the rights of individuals and collective good when it comes to policy making. Kailangan balanse. Hindi lang lagi natin parang pinapaboran yung individual rights versus yung ikabubuti ng lahat. So, yeah, I agree with the sentiments of many na hindi dapat nakikialam yung EU sa domestic policies ng mga bansa. So yeah, that's my opinion. That's my off the top of my mind opinion regarding the EU trade sanctions daw na hindi totoo. Okay. So the next question is from Christian Aaron Rabo and Ryan Paul Francisco. Medyo pareho yung question nila. Do you think it's beneficial for every Filipino to shift to a federal parliamentary system? Yung kay Ryan naman, I would like to ask about the constitutional reforms, especially federal parliamentary system, the pros and cons, and how the Philippines would benefit from direct foreign investment. Thank you, God bless. Hope we can have a conversation or a podcast at least when this pandemic is over. Okay, so I guess marami naman nakakaalam na I'm part of the Correct movement. It's a movement promoting the country's shift from unitary presidential form of government to federal parliamentary system. So ano ba yung benefits nito? Why do I keep on pushing for this reform? First, I would like to invite you to like the page of Correct Movement if you're interested dito sa movement na to, if you want to be part of it or you want to be more informed kung bakit pinopromote ng group yung movement na to. I would also like to invite you to visit the website para makita nyo yung mga resources na nandoon na nagdi-discuss, like mas comprehensive yung discussion kung why we want this kind of transition to this form of government. Okay, so tatlo yung aspects ng movement na to. A shift to federal form of government, parliamentary system, and opening the country's economic liberalization, or yung opening the country to foreign direct investment. So how will these systems and policies benefit the country? Federalism muna. One of the major reasons why I supported the president is because he is the one and only president who pushed for the country's shift to a federal form of government. Bakit sa tingin ko mas ikagaganda to ng Pilipinas? I have three major reasons: socio-cultural, political, and economic. So yung political muna. Political, geopolitical. Makikita, kung titingnan kasi natin yung geography ng Pilipinas, archipelago tayo. Alam natin lahat yan, archipelago tayo. So we have 7,600 plus islands. At mahirap i-manage yung ganitong klaseng bansa using a unitary form of government, lalo na kung hiwa-hiwala yung parang territories na tinatry mong i-govern. So kasi ang tendency kapag kung makita yung impact ng unitary system sa Pilipinas, dahil sobrang centralized ng power sa Metro Manila, lahat ng development, lahat ng economic opportunities na pupunta sa Metro Manila, napapabayaan yung mga provinces, yung nasa peripheries, dahil nga yung government nakacentralize siya sa Metro Manila. Ngayon, kung i-decentralize natin yung power through federalism, sabihin natin na ihatiin yung Pilipinas into several states, several regions, Ngayon, each region will have their central governments. Ibig sabihin, yung mga central governments na yon, mas matututukan nila yung mga issues sa regions nila. Kasi sino ba namang nakakaalam ng mga problema dyan sa regions nyo, like yung mga galing taga-province. Yung mga nakakaalam sa mga issues nyo, syempre, yung government nyo, hindi naman alam ng Manila lahat ng issues na nangyayari dyan. So, mas mapapalapit yung gobyerno sa tao kung federal tayo. Kasi, imagine mo, ang daming gobyerno na nagmamanage sa Pilipinas. Dahil nga, mas decentralized yung power. So, it brings the government closer to the people. Mas madali para sa mga tao sa ibang regions na mag-voice out ng opinions nila or alam nila kung kanino sila magrereklamo. Kasi alam nila na yung state governments nila, they are responsible for the development of their government. So, that's one benefit. Mas decentralized yung power. And then, yung development mas madidistribute siya ng mas maayos. Kasi nga, each state government will be given certain amount or significant amount of power in crafting policies. Like for example, pwede sila, depende yan kung paano yung magiging formulation ng proposed constitution, kung paano ba yung power sharing between central government and federal, or state governments and the federal government. Pero, kung yung fiscal powers mabibigay din sa state governments, then they have the power to craft their own economic policies. Then, they have the power to, incentivize businesses, kung paano ba to attract investors. So, yeah, basically ganon. Mas ma-empower yung mga regions. Maraming against sa maraming against sa federalism kasi sinasabi nila na that it would worsen our problems on political dynasties. First, let me just say na there's nothing inherently wrong about political dynasties. Una sa lahat, kung maganda naman yung pamamalakad ng isang political dynasty, walang masama doon. In fact, kung maganda yung pamamalakad ng isang political dynasty sa isang region, state, province, whatever, then I wish magtuloy-tuloy yung pamamalakad niya. Why do you need to change it if the system isn't, or if the leadership or the system isn't broken, then why fix it? Diba? Ngayon, kung hindi maganda, dyan kaya maganda din yung federalism in resolving political dynasties. Kasi since the government is decentralized, ibig sabihin yung mga regions, meron silang kanya-kanyang state governments nila. Ngayon, kung hindi maganda yung pamamalakad ng state government dun sa region na yon, then alam ng mga tao kung kanino sila magrereklamo. Magrereklamo sila sa state government nila. Dun sila mag-aaklas, dun sila magre-revolusyon. Alam nila kung kanino nila i-vent yung anger nila, alam nila kung kanino sila mag-a-ask ng accountability. That's good. Magandang bagay yon. Hindi naman hindi solusyon yung pag-impose ng anti-political dynasty laws, hindi solusyon yung like waiting for things to play out first before like changing the system. If you want to change the system, you have if you want to change how things if you want to change the course of things, we have to change the system. So, yeah, and federalism will empower people to voice their opinion, to demand accountability from their state governments kesa sa hindi nila alam kung kanino sila magrereklamo. So, yeah, I don't think federalism would worsen the problem on political dynasty. And at the same time, if these people na nagsasabi na it would worsen political dynasties in the country, I would ask them to cite studies or provide studies na nag-demonstrate nito nung mga pinopropose nilang arguments na federalism would worsen political dynasties. So, yeah, to me, it's not an issue. Next is yung parliamentary system. For me, the biggest benefit of parliamentary system is it would help the country veer away from personality politics and focus on like a more to a more politics of ideas. Kasi ngayon, 'di ba, parang ang politika natin pasikatan, hindi kung sino yung pinaka-competent yung na-elect, kundi yung kung sino ba yung pinaka-sikat. Kung sino ba yung pinaka like kaya ang dami nating mga artistang leaders na na-produce, di ba? Ngayon, kung parliamentary form yung government, ma-empower yung party politics sa Pilipinas. Like magkakaroon tayo ng mga parties, mas strengthen yung party politics sa atin. So, yung mga tao, mas dadami yung choices nila na parties na pagpipilian base sa kung ano yung policies na tingin nila makakaganda sa Pilipinas. Hindi na siya base sa kung sino bang sikat, base na siya kung ano bang party yung sa tingin nila pinakamaganda yung programs na mai-implement sa Pilipinas. So, yeah, to me that's one of the biggest benefits of shifting to a parliamentary system. Ngayon, if you want to have a more like in-depth explanation ng parliamentary system, I would really recommend you to check out the website of Correct Movement, Facebook page, Facebook group. Mag-join kayo doon, mag-ask kayo ng questions. Check nyo din yung Facebook page ni Sir Orion Perez. Madami siyang mga videos about federalism, parliamentary system. So, yeah, I would encourage you to check those resources. Pagdating naman sa FDI, like liberalizing the economy, obviously, ngayon kasi sa constitution na meron tayo, very protectionist yung ekonomiya natin. Protectionist meaning we are not allowing investors to own certain industries, or we are not allowing, or may cap tayo pagdating sa foreign ownership, which prevents investors from investing in the country. And like in countries like Singapore, kung saan wala yung mga ganitong limitations, mas free sila mag-invest, mas attractive yung country para sa kanila. So, yes, I am for liberalizing the economy kasi this opening up the economy will provide a challenge to our oligarchs, to our business oligarchs, to improve their services, improve their businesses para makapagbigay ng mas maayos na product, services sa mga Pilipino. Kasi kung ma-challenge yung mga oligarchs natin, yung mga business oligarchs natin sa mga national business, mga businessmen sa Pilipinas, kung may challenge yan from outside, mas may incentive for them to improve their services para mas lalo silang tangkalikin. Otherwise, lilipat tayo sa ibang competitors nila. So, that's one benefit of opening up the economy, aside from it will create more jobs for Filipinos, and, you know, effectively reducing poverty in the country. So, I am for liberalizing the economy. But, unlike many members of Correct Movement, I am not for a laissez-faire kind of market system where there's no regulations at all. Para sa akin, we should still try to delineate aling industries yung kailangang i-open up, aling industries yung kailangan nating protektahan. Hindi ako dun sa extreme side ng market economy na laissez-faire economy. I am siguro nasa gitna ako. Kasi, yeah, I am aware of how corporations think. They think of profit, but to me, para sa akin, the economy should benefit society. Hindi lang siya tungkol sa kita. Dapat equal yung yung corporate responsibility at yung profit seeking. So, yeah, we should again, we should open up the economy, but we should also study alin sa mga sectors natin yung magandang i-open up, alin yung kailangan i-protect, like yung agriculture, do we need to protect it para mag-benefit yung farmers, or should we allow certain amount of competition? Okay, just to clarify my position on liberalizing the economy, I am for opening up the economy, but at the same time, I also think that there are certain industries or sectors that we need to protect in order to protect Filipinos. Like for example, maybe we have to consider studying what liberalization will what are the impacts of liberalization on, let's say for example, the agriculture sector. How will this benefit our farmers? Then to me, the policy needs to be recalibrated. So economic liberalization doesn't have to have this one size fits all policy that will encompass all sectors. Para sa akin, kailangan micromanage natin yung ekonomiya natin. Alin ba sectors yung kailangan ng kompetensya, kailangan ng mas madaming investment, ano namang sector yung mas okay na protektahan. So the next question is your thoughts on social democratic government system. Aside from federalism, this might be a good alternative for the country. Actually, itong social democratic government system, to me, it's not really a system, but more of like a set of principles in governing like a country regardless of the system. And I agree with, if you're talking about the social democracy type of if you're talking about social democracy, the same if you're talking about social democracy such as what they have in Scandinavia, like Sweden, Norway, those countries, Denmark, then yes, I'm actually for this kind of like let's call it like guidelines or principles in governing the country. Ano ba tong social democracy system na to para sa mga hindi nakakaalam? So it's like this hybrid of socialist policies and market capitalist policies, which to me, para saan kasi hindi naman like kailangan mag-clash itong dalawang way of doing things na to. For me, the point of having an economy is not just to enrich a selected few, or not just to enrich businesses, it's to enrich society as a whole. So while we allowed for the country to have this vibrant market economy, para sa akin dapat yung wealth na nake-create nung klase ng economy na yon, it should benefit all, and we can do that by having socialist policies such as like universal healthcare, free education. So although yes, lahat ng mga ito kailangan pag-aralan, but these are just these are the things that they have in social democracy countries like Sweden, Norway, and even to a certain extent Germany, Netherlands. So ito yung mga policies na meron sila. Yes, and I'm all for that. I think that capitalism is how we earn money, and socialism is how should be one of our principles on how to spend that, guiding principles on how to spend that money. I'm not saying na socialism lang dapat yung maging guidelines natin kung paano ba natin i-invest or gagamitin yung pera na yon. Should be hindi tayo dapat makulong sa isang ideology lang. Gaya na sabi ko nga dun sa previous video ko, hindi tayo makulong ng isang ideology lang sa pag-craft ng policies natin. But then again, there are a lot of good suggestions from the socialist model when it comes to spending money on social welfare, on creating an extensive welfare state, and I'm all for that. Kasi, if you invest on your people, in terms of their health, education, and other social programs, then those people can contribute more to the society. They could further enrich the society. Yung pera din, mas magiging, what do you call this? I don't know the economic term, pero yung pera yung flow niya sa society mas maayos, mas maganda kasi hindi siya nare-retain sa isang class lang ng citizens. How do you call it? Mas equally distributed yung wealth. So yeah, I'm very much open to this kind of to this kind of system, not really system, to this kind of guidelines when crafting our policies, yung social democracy. Okay, next. So yung next question, it's about boundaries from Mr. Sofronio Lampitok. Ang sabi niya, "Hello John, God bless you. I just want you to explain more about boundaries. Thanks and stay safe." Okay, sobrang lawak ng topic ng boundaries. And I'm wondering kung anong boundaries yung sinasabi ni Mr. Lampitok. If he's talking about territorial boundaries, well, boundaries are social constructs. Lahat ng boundaries sa mundo na meron tayo sa mundo ngayon, they have historical context. And boundaries will continue to evolve, to change, as nakita natin yan throughout history. Nag-iiba lagi yung boundaries. Let's say, for example, in Europe, madaming countries dyan yung hindi nag-exist before. They were under some empires or more like bigger states, bigger nations. And over time, may mga nations who ask for self-determination, who ask for their sovereignty. So, kaya nandyan yung mga borders ngayon. So, I'm not saying that territories or boundaries are irrelevant. They are very much irrelevant, actually. But, I'm just putting it out there na these boundaries are not set in stone. They could evolve anytime. Even the Philippines could, in the future, di natin masasabi, eventually disintegrate into several nation states, which is ganun naman talaga yung Pilipinas before Spanish colonization. We're just a group of several kingdoms, several island kingdoms and with no overarching authority governing us before Spanish colonization. Who knows? Baka bumalik tayo sa ganon. We don't know. Sabi nga nila, geography is destiny. Hindi natin mababago yung geography ng Philippines unless, I don't know, magkaroon ng movement yung tectonic plates or whatever. So, yeah, I'm just giving you a picture of how temporary boundaries are. So, I'm just giving you a picture of how impermanent boundaries are. So, but at the same time, we need to do something about we have to live with the fact that they do exist at this point in time, right? So, ano ba yung position ko doon? Am I one of those people who support the removal of all boundaries, let people freely move across all nations, territories, countries, just like before? To be honest, hindi ko pa, my opinion on that matter is not fully formed. So, ayokong magsabi ng bagay na hindi pa hinog for me. But I think that there are ways on how we would benefit from a world where there are less restrictions coming from boundaries, such as trade. Like, for example, I'm talking about ASEAN, yung neighborhood natin. There are ways on how we can benefit from an ASEAN which has more maybe porous economic borders where we could freely trade with our ASEAN neighbors, where there's like freer movement of people, and more, exchange of people. So yeah, may mga benefits doon tayo na makukuha. So yeah, I think when it comes to pagdating sa usaping boundaries, territory, kailangan mag-specific ano bang issue yung pinag-uusapan natin dito. And then dun ako makakapagbigay ng like clear answer about boundaries. But for now, I think in terms of the economy, I support like a more relaxed economic boundaries among ASEAN countries so we could freely trade. And yeah, that's my position for now in terms of boundaries. So the next question is about the Philippine Sea. Ang tanong, what is your stand in West Philippine Sea conflict? How must the Philippines approach the situation? How can we get back WPS? Thank you. Thanks po. When it comes to the technicalities, like for example yung international law, I think there are better people who could explain it to you. Like you may want to check on the page of SAS. Mas maganda yung discussion niya ng South China Sea conflict in terms of like international law, yung mga technical stuff na yon. While I have certain knowledge on that front, I would like to approach the South China Sea issue in a different lens, like more socio-political lens. If you're gonna ask me for my stand in the South China Sea conflict, I would say that first, to me, in all kinds of conflict, we must always look at how our enemies perceive, the conflict. Para alam natin kung bakit, ano yung rationale niya, kung ba't ginagawa niya yung action na yon. At malaman din natin kung ano yung mga susunod na action na gagawin niya. Kung gaano ba ka-importante sa kanya yung conflict na yon, na manalo dun sa conflict na yon. So, that's always my default, like, initial move when trying to resolve or trying to craft my own action in that conflict. So ang gagawin ko, I would put myself in the position of China. Why does China want South China Sea so much? And there are many reasons. If you think like the Chinese, then you'd know kung bakit sobrang halaga sila sa kanila ng South China Sea. And again, babalik ako sa history because, lahat naman ng current situation may historical context yan. So, ang gagawin ko, I will put myself in the position of China and then look back kung bakit ganyan yung nila, where they are coming from. And China is a country that has always been, it was one of the countries severely divided by colonization, by Western colonization. It was instrumental in their division, yung Western colonization. Nakita na, like, just read about the Opium Wars with Britain, how Hong Kong became, part of the British colonial empire, even Macau, kung ano yung impact ng colonization sa China. And Asian values, Chinese values are always about unity. They are about harmony, unity. So yun yung mahalaga sa mga Chinese, na isang bansa sila, na isang nagkakaisa sila. Yun yung mahalaga sa kanila. Kaya sobrang sakit for them na magkaroon ng foreign powers in their land, and these foreign powers took some parts of their territory and made it their own. And so yun yung mentality ng mga Chinese. Ayaw nila ng disunity, ayaw nila ng disharmony sa bansa nila. Kaya and the South China Sea was instrumental dito doon sa pagdating ng western colonization sa shores nila, kasi diyan dumaan yung British Empire, yung empires na yung mga empires na kumuha ng mga territory nila. So it's important for them to protect South China Sea, not just for economic matters but for security matters. Ayaw na nilang mangyari ulit yung nangyari before. So clearly, kung i-analyze natin siya, they want West Philippine Sea, in their perspective, they want West Philippine Sea or South China Sea not because they want to antagonize the Philippines. Hindi para kalabanin tayo. They want to protect themselves kasi sobrang may phobia na sila doon. So, kung tayo as policymakers, as Filipino policymakers, and if we're going to be rational, we will take that into consideration. We will think, no, the Chinese are not antagonizing us by trying to claim this part of the sea. They're doing this to protect themselves. Kaya nga sila nag-build ng military structures dyan. Nakita nila na US is a threat, na baka mangyari ulit sa kanila yung nangyari in the past. That's why they're building military structures. That's how you should analyze conflicts. You should put yourself in the position of your enemy para maintindihan mo sila. At pag naintindihan mo sila, then you can, craft wiser policies moving forward. And so, yeah, to me, the solution is not to continue to push the buttons of the Chinese or to get in their nerves and, to continue antagonizing them. To me, para sa akin talaga, yung solution sa West Philippine Sea ay cooperation with China and eventually the entire region, including ASEAN, in South China Sea, and that includes having the code of conduct in South China Sea. Yun para sa akin ang solution. It's not about bringing this issue in the international arena and then parang dalhin yung China sa mga international courts, ano sila doon, parang i-force sila na i-give up yung claim nila. No, that's not gonna work, and it's also not beneficial for both for us specifically because let's be aware of the structure. Kailangan hindi lang tayo napaka-idealistic mag-isip na that sea is ours, sa atin dapat yon. We should also be aware kung ano ba yung position natin sa power structure. And kung titingnan natin, China is an emerging superpower at tayo, we're still a developing economy. We don't have that much of we don't have a powerful military. And so kesa having these like idealistic thoughts of a David and Goliath kind of mentality when approaching South China Sea, we should be practical. And para sa akin, we should cooperate with China. We should keep pushing for the having of the code of conduct in South China Sea. I also would like better relations with China, like economic relations, even socio-cultural relations with China. Kasi clearly, political and economic power is moving from west to east, and we want to benefit from that. Ayaw nating maipag-iwanan tayo ng Asian century na sinasabi nila. Gusto nating mag-benefit doon, as wealth shifts to this part of the world. So ayaw nating mapag-iwanan doon. So we should have better relations with China. I'm not saying that we should break all our ties with the West, but we should know how to balance. Yun yung tinatawag nilang independent foreign policy. Kailangan yung policies natin, depende sila kung saan tayo mag-benefit. Hindi sila depende kung mag-benefit ba yung West, mag-benefit ba yung China, mag-benefit ba yung America, mag-benefit. No, dapat isipin natin kung saan tayo mag-benefit. And to me, the economy should be our priority. Yung economy lagi natin dapat yung prioridad natin. Kasi if the country, if our economy continues to grow and we become a developed country, we will have more leverage in when getting what we want, like in the international arena. So yeah, let's be rational, let's be logical with the issue. So yeah, I'm not against I am against continuously antagonizing China. I think we must be pragmatic in our approach to South China Sea, and we must consider how China views the issue. So, we can craft better policies on how to um, on how to deal with them in the future. Okay, so the next question is from Adnimila Serra Nastak. So ang question niya, I would like to ask why the opposition stand against the government becoming more rude and they have the guts to bash the president even with below the belt comments. Feeling ko yan naman ganyan, ganyan naman talaga yung politika sa Pilipinas, na we take it personally. Instead of debating ideas, we try to discredit the person by, hurling below the belt comments. And I'm also against that. I want us to have a debate, debate on ideas instead of debating kung sino ba yung pangit, sino ba yung maganda, di ba? Parang hindi siya nakakatulong sa politika. So yeah, I'm also against that, and that's the reason why we are pushing for our shift to parliamentary system, because parliamentary system will, promote a more party politics kind of approach to society where we discuss ideas instead of bashing each other on social media. So please study yung parliamentary system kasi it would really benefit us and unify the country. Next question. Jan, sa palagay mo ba sa ginagawa ng mga dilawan ngayon sa bansa na patuloy na guluhin ang kaisipan ng tao, may pag-asa pa ba na manalo sila sa patas na election? Bakit dapat pa silang iboto ng tao? May pag-asa ba silang manalo? Sa ngayon, wala. Hindi ko nakikita na may pag-asa sila kasi feeling ko mas nangingibabaw pa rin sa mga tao yung epekto ng nakaraang administrasyon nila, kung saan hindi nakinabang yung mga Pilipino. Walang improvement sa buhay natin. Ang daming palpak, yung Yolanda, yung corruption, lumaki yung ekonomiya pero hindi equal yung distribution, walang nag-benefit yung transportation, traffic sa Manila. Hanggang ngayon sariwa pa din sa isip ng mga tao. So, I think slim pa din yung chances nila na manalo. Pero, obviously, ginagamit nila yung pandemic they're taking advantage of the pandemic para siraan yung government. We'll know kung magiging effective ba siya. For now, hindi pa natin masasabi. So, kung mananalo ba sila, ngayon, I don't think so. Hindi ko pa ma-feel mo kasi mararamdaman mo yung shift. I'm very sensitive dun sa yung shift on public opinion, and so far I'm not seeing that shift. Hindi ko pa siya nararamdaman. We'll see 2021 kung mangyari siya, kung may epekto ba yung pandemic sa perception ng tao sa current government. We'll see, but trust that the opposition will take advantage of the situation para siraan yung government. So, masanay na tayo na ganun talaga yung politika sa atin. And if we want to change that, like I said, we must shift to parliamentary system. Okay, so the next question, what do you think will happen to our country if ever the Dilawan took over the government? What are the possibilities that VP nila could take away the presidency of Duterte? I'm kinda worried din kasi. Like I said, para sa akin hindi pa ganun kalaki yung chances ni Yellow Girl. But we'll see in 2021 kung gano'n kalaki yung epekto nitong pandemic. What will happen to our country if ever the Dilawan took over the government? I'm sure they learned their lesson. So we'll see kung may pagbabago. But me, I prefer for maybe more terms for the current party. Ayoko pa silang bumalik sa kapangyarihan, personally. Okay, next question. Hi Sir John, I'm a software developer by profession. I'm also concerned how social media, especially FB, uses Raptor and verifies as fact checkers here in the Philippines. Is this Are these people credible at all? Maria Ressa was convicted. So, may nasabi ako tungkol dito sa previous video ko. Please check it here somewhere sa taas. I'll post it here, or I'll post a link sa taas. Na-discuss ko how the monopoly of these tech giants could have negative impact on our politics, on our democracy, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Kaya I think we should do something about it. The government should do something about it. Credible ba sila? What do you mean credible? Kung objective sila? No, I don't think so. Kung yun yung ibig mong sabihin ng credible, kung objective sila, no. They're not objective. And they will never be objective. Kaya I think Facebook should do something about that. Maybe like try to mix up or try to add more members in their like fact checkers. But at the end of the day, I am totally against censorship. Para sa akin, kailangan may free flow of information, free flow of ideas. Maraming magsasabi na paano yung fake news, paano yung ganyan. Well, ang maganda sa social media, very interactive. Kapag may fake news, madaling mag-comment, madaling i-clarify yan. So, I don't think fake news is an issue. So, excuse lang yon para dun sa mga tao na they're losing the fight on the narrative. So, yeah, they're not credible, and Facebook should do something about it. Otherwise, we should do something about Facebook kung patuloy na mangyayari yan. Okay, next. Who is your favorite president of the Philippines from Aguinaldo to Duterte? Well, wag na natin isama si President Duterte. But if you're gonna ask me kung sino yung favorite na president ko, I really don't have a favorite. But there are some noteworthy presidents. And for me, these are Marcos and Gloria Macapagal. Marcos to me is noteworthy because I think the earlier parts of his presidency were like fine, relatively good. But then eventually nagkaroon ng issues which were influenced by external factors also, but also by his own policies. So that's why very polarizing na figure si Marcos kasi he's done some good stuff. He's done some bad stuff. Let's be clear about that. So, and I like that many people are starting to get in the discussion kung sino ba siya. To me, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is also noteworthy because of how she invigorated economy. She's an economist, and I think she's a brilliant economist dahil sa kanya from being the sick man of Asia, nagprogress yung economy natin, and namana yun ni Noy until now na nararamdaman pa rin ng gobyerno yung epekto ng reforms ni Gloria Macapagal. So they are to me some of the most noteworthy presidents na nagkaroon tayo. Next, should the Philippines change the country's name? Ever since Barbados removed the Queen of England as their head of state to get rid of colonialism, I was wondering if the Philippines will ever get rid of King Philip as its name. Changing the name of the Philippines, can we change it? Yes, we can change it. But we also have to ask, is it practical? Or we also have to ask why we want to change it. And we have to ask, is it practical? So, if you're gonna ask me kung I am for changing the name of the country, ngayon, no. I don't think we need to change the name of the country for now. In the future, we'll see. We don't know. Like I said, sabi ko nga kanina, these things change all the time. And depende yan sa parang magiging sitwasyon ng bansa o sa mga movements na mag-emerge. Like kung may movement na biglang mag-emerge na gusto nilang totally tanggalin yung relics or residue ng Western colonization sa Philippines, baka they would push for the changing of the name. But the thing is, kailangan yung ipapalit sa pangalan ng Pilipinas maging inclusive siya. lalo na sobrang diverse natin. So, the new name should resonate with all Filipinos. Otherwise, it will fail. It will not work kung ano man yung gusto nilang mangyari. Or it could even result to conflict pag pinalitan yung pangalan. So, yeah, it's hard to, kasi let's admit it, the reason why there's Philippines is because we were colonized. Yun yung shared history natin of colonization. And kaya nga nagre-rebelde yung mga Muslims sa Mindanao kasi they were never colonized, but they became part of the Philippines. And that's fair. I understand their position. And so kung papalitan yung pangalan ng Pilipinas, it should be inclusive. Yun yung para sa akin. At kung hindi siya inclusive, we could have the same conflict. Kasi if the people will not identify themselves with the new name, then it will not fly. Hindi siya mag-work. So, yeah. It's very interesting actually changing the name of the Philippines, lalo na kinamulatan na natin siya. So, yeah. And I'm also curious how changing the name of a country could affect the national identity of the people, their nationalism. I'm curious about that. Okay. So, next question from Jan Caridel Nasito. Why are Filipinos so clannish and regionalistic? I am wondering because these have divided our country for so long. Filipinos are clannish and regionalistic because of our geography. Sabi nga nung American writer na si Robert Kaplan, geography is destiny. At dahil archipelago tayo, many Filipinos are sometimes contained sila sa isang island, and dahil they are socialized in that one community, they like national identities emerge, regional identities emerge dahil sa big part, honestly for me or personally for me, yung geography natin. So that's one reason kung bakit regionalistic tayo. Very diverse din yung culture natin. Like we have different languages, and sometimes we identify with the language that we use. Like ako Kapampangan ako, so Pampanga feels close to me. Ganon din siguro yung mga Ilocano, Ilonggo, Tagalog. Is it necessarily bad? No, I don't think so. It's not bad to be clannish, regionalistic. It has benefits, it has negatives. But I think what we must do is to take advantage of the benefits by imposing the best system that would, optimize those benefits. And that system is federalism. Dahil regionalistic ang mga Pilipino, they care a lot about their communities. They care a lot about the Ilocos region. They care a lot about Pampanga. They care a lot about their regions. And so if you allow them to have this freedom to govern their regions, I'm sure they'll do their best to develop their regions. Ang magandang epekto pa nun, magkakaroon ng kompetensya among regions, kung sino mas pinakayayaman, kung sino mas pinakauunlad, which is a healthy competition, healthy economic competition. So you see, it's about looking at the bright side all the time and having that system that would optimize those benefits. Unfortunately, I don't know why we don't think like that. Hindi ko alam bakit sobrang ang hirap sa mga Pilipino na mag-isip logically, rationally. So, yeah. I don't think we are divided. Again, we have a shared history of Western colonization, and that binds us. But at the same time, yung shared history na yon, it doesn't have to we don't have to use it as a tyrannical instrument to impose its will on several cultures. You get what I'm saying? We can still be Philippines while promoting all the regions. We can still be one country while enriching all other regions. We can still be one country while having hundreds of languages. We can still be, a united country while having state governments governing themselves, making the quality of life in their regions better for everyone else. So I don't know why, bakit lagi tayong black and white mag-isip, like nega, positive, ganun lagi. There's so many ways on how we can like take advantage of our being regionalistic and clannish. We just need the best system for that, and that's federalism. Okay, next question is, John, I would like to ask what are the benefits of taking AB Political Science, and are your bets for presidential and vice presidential election? Thank you. Okay, benefits of taking AB Political Science. I don't know. I mean, if you want to take up law in the future, then maybe you should take AB Political Science. If you are interested in political science, if you want to be a politician in the future, then maybe take AB Political Science. Depende kung ano ba yung career na gusto mong magkaroon. So if you want to have a career in politics, then yeah, it would benefit you greatly taking political science. If you want to become a lawyer, then yeah, you should take political science. So depende sa career na gusto mong magkaroon. Next question is, sino ba yung bet ko? Presidential and vice presidential election? Wala pa so far. Wala pa. Masyado pang maaga for me. Sobrang ngayon, yung isip ko nasa pandemic pa. Parang sobrang I'm not really depressed, but I'm feeling a little low these days kasi parang sobrang for a few months nakakulong ako sa building namin for so many months na, and I'm craving like other sites, other environments. So yeah, hindi ko pa iniisip kung sinong iboboto ko sa next election. Okay, so yung susunod na question medyo mahaba, from Maria Seidia Martinete. It's about our educational system. I would love to talk to you about our education system. What could be so wrong about it? Is it a fact that we have indeed the lowest IQ? We have committees on educational reforms, policymakers. Ano ba yung nagawa nila? So basically, I think she's asking, bakit sobrang baba pa rin ang quality of education sa Pilipinas. Okay? Sobrang hirap sagutin kasi ang daming issues ng education system natin. But siguro pag-aralan natin yung mga schools kung saan maganda yung performance nila, at tignan natin what they're doing right to correct yung mga mali. Tapos culturally, I don't know why Filipinos minsan may mentality tayo ng parang pwede na yan, yung pwede na yan mentality, unlike other Asian countries such as China or Singapore or other Asian countries na parang they're all about excellence, they're all about exceeding expectations. They're all about parang yun nga, parang they don't want to be mediocre. Siguro pag-aralan natin kung anong meron doon sa culture nila. And maybe we can make use of those studies kung paano natin i-enrich or para ayusin yung education system natin. So, yeah, sobrang daming issues. Syempre nandiyan na din yung budget sa education. Of course, we are a developing country. Very limited yung budget. That's why I'm always promoting the economy. Kasi alam ko na if the economy continues to grow and we become developed, saklaw niyan lahat ng iba pang departments or sectors ng bansa like education, healthcare. Magi-improve din yan with the right policies and with economic progress. So, yeah, we should really do something about our economy, and everything else will follow. So yeah, that's my quick answer to that question. And finally, last question for today from Gerald Arthur Amon. I'm a new subscriber. Thank you for subscribing. Just to divert your attention from stress-inducing political agendas by the kabilang parlor in your videos, I'd suggest you vlog about how you personally improve your skills in public speaking and broadening the vocabulary and plotting ideas for better narration. I have struggled in those areas and I'd love to hear some tips from a frank intellectual person like you. To be honest, clearly I'm not really one of the best public speakers out there, not even remotely close to becoming a good public speaker. nag-stutter ako a lot of times. Sometimes yung focus ko hindi rin like, yung eye contact ko hindi rin ganun ka like consistent. But I'm actually worse in the past. I'm worse. Lagi akong kinakabahan, lagi akong natatakot. But you know what? What really helped is for me to confront the fear. So ang ginawa ko talaga, you know, the reason why I taught in the university is because it's not because I want to earn money. It's because I want to improve my public speaking skills. I want to expose myself in my fear so that I can overcome it. And that's one of the things that I would recommend for Gerald to do, is to just expose yourself to that fear and do something about it. Like, not just expose, like bigla ka na lang magturo, magsasalita dyan. Hindi, you still need to prepare, you still need to do all those things. You still need to read, you still need to do other stuff aside from exposing yourself. But yeah, you have to force yourself to grow para makuha mo yung gusto mong makuha na goal. So ako, my public speaking is still, you know, subpar para sa akin. I could still do something about it. I could still improve it. But I'm not afraid anymore to like face my fears. And that's even one of the reasons why I made this channel, is so I can see what I can improve on in terms of public speaking, to, you know, expose myself to a lot of people and read their comments, ano ba yung mga hindi ko magandang ginagawa. Also, being open to criticisms is good. Like, I've had a lot of mentors in the past who were able to give me like insightful comments about my public speaking skills, and all of them, I taken them to heart. I really tried. I did my best paano sila implement sa pagsasalita ko. Ano pa ba? And yeah, that's isa yon. Expose yourself to your fears. And then siguro be more forgiving of yourself. Like, public speaking, lalo na pag kinakabahan ka, maraming beses magkakamali ka, maraming beses marami kang words na mispronounce, marami kang grammar na mali. You just have to forgive yourself and move on. Pagtawanan mo din yung sarili mo. And you know, hindi ka magiging perfect. May mga mistakes ka na magkakaroon ka ng mistakes. Ang mahalaga when you're talking to people, are you able to send yung ideas or message na pinapadala mo clearly, regardless of the grammar, regardless of the pronunciation? Kung oo, then I think you already did a good job. So it's really not about perfecting how the pronunciation of the words. It's about, you know, public speaking is about communication, how you resonate with people, how you share your ideas. If you're successful in sharing those ideas and you get good feedback in that department, then I think you already did a good job. So you just polish mo lang, continue to polish, but never lose that passion of sharing with people your ideas. And you know, public speaking, making mistakes in public will not kill you. Hindi ka mo ikamamatay yan. Magkamali ka man ng prepositions, which is sobrang hirap sa atin, di ba? Para sa akin, yun yung pinakamahirap na part ng speech, yung prepositions. Lagi akong nagkakamali dyan. So, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Just continue speaking, reading, learning, training yourself, practicing. But do not forget to forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Okay, so that ends our PMB session for today. Please comment nyo lahat ng mga questions nyo sa baba. Sasagutin ko lahat yan in the next PMB session. Tapos please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Nandyan yung subscribe button. Tapos katabi niyan yung bell icon. Please click it, also activate it para makaka-receive kayo notification each time I upload a new video. Also, I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, follow me on those social media para kung interested kayo sa mga updates ko. Kung hindi kayo interested, it's fine. So, yeah, yun lang. That's it. So, thank you for watching. Sobrang haba ng video na to, but I really had a nice time answering all your questions. Please continue to send your questions and I will answer them. Okay, thank you.